What up, my people? After watching this video, you will be able to graph a piecewise defined function. Let's get it.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and get started with some vocabulary. So first we're going to look at all of these inequalities. We have A is less than B. So graphically, if A is less than B, then we will put an open circle on the B to demonstrate that the B is not included, and then we'll shade to the left to show that that is the area that is A. If we have A is greater than B, again we put an open circle on B, and then we shade to the right to demonstrate that A is greater than B. If we have A is less than or equal to B, then we include the B, so we shade in and fill in the dot on the B and then shade to the left because A is less than or equal to it. If we have A is greater than or equal to B, then we shade in the B again and then we shade to the right. And if A is equal to B, then that means that A is in fact just B, so it will just be that point. All right, for example of 1, we're going to be graphing h of x. H of x is the same thing as saying y when x is equal to. So this is really just y, just a heads up. To graph it, we basically need to define the x, and then from our definition of the x, then we can graph the y value. So we have y would be equal to -1 if x is less than or equal to -2, or x is less than -1. If x is greater than or equal to -1 and also less than 0, then our y value is going to be equal to 0. If x is less than 1 and x is also greater than or equal to 0, then our y value is going to be equal to 1. If x is less than 2 and x is also greater than or equal to 1, then our y value will be equal to 2. So let's go ahead and graph all of that. All right, for example number 1, we're going to run down through this really quick. So we have y is equal to -1, 0, 1, and 2. So I'm going to plot all of those points on my y-axis. So we have -1, 0, 1, and 2. For our x values, we're going to be going from from -2 all the way up to 2. So we have -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. So our graph is going to be defined within that space. So all we're going to do now is just define the x and then relate it to the specific y. So we have x is less than -1 and also greater than -2. So at -1, we're going to put an open circle, and at -2, we're going to put a closed circle, and that's going to be on the y is equal to -1 line. So open circle here, closed circle here, and then we fill in the blank in between it. We have x is less than 0. We have an open circle there, and at -1 we have a closed circle for where y is equal to 0. So that's going to be on the x-axis. So I put an open circle, closed circle, fill in between. So we have x is less than 1 and greater than or equal to 0. And where that's defined, that's where that x is defined, we're going to be on y is equal to 1. So I'm going to put an open circle here, a closed circle here, and then we fill in the gap. And the last one, we have x is less than 2, and then x is also greater than or equal to 1, and the y value at that point, or those points, would be 2. So again, I put an open circle here, closed circle here, and then I fill in the between. That's it. All right, here's example number 2. We're going to try the same thing again. So first we're going to define our y values, define our x values, and then we're going to work within that space. So our y's are going to be going from -1 all the way to 2. So on our y-axis, we go -1, 0, 1, and 2. And then on our x-axis, we're going to be traveling from -1 to 0, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3. So within that space is where our graph is going to be existing. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So where y is equal to -1, we can find that x is going to be less than or equal to 0, but strictly greater than -1. So we're going to put an open circle at -1, and we're going to put a closed circle at 0, and then we fill in the blank between that, and that's it. Let's make that -1 open circle a little better. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for our y-axis, our x-axis, which is where y is equal to 0. Our x value is going to be less than or equal to 1, so closed circle. And x is going to be strictly greater than 0, so open circle here, and then we shade in between. That's it. Where y is equal to 1, we're going to go up again on the y-axis to 1. X is going to be less than or equal to 2, so we're going to put a closed circle here. And x is also going to be greater than 1, so open circle. And then we fill in the blank. And for the last one, we're going to go up again to y is equal to 2. Our x value is going to be less than or equal to 3. So we put a closed circle again. And x is also going to be greater than 2. So open circle right here. And we shade in between. And that's it. All right, we're at that point. So here is a problem for you to try. There's going to be a link to the solution in the description. Please like, share, and subscribe for more tutorials. Thank you again for taking the time to invest in yourself, making a weakness a strength. Ashe.